one of the biggest challenges in a beginning ceramics class is learning how to make a decent mug for several different reasons. One is we don't want it to be heavy before we've added the liquid to it, so we probably need to take our throwing skills to the next level. We probably need to thin this out just a little bit more than what we've been doing. The other thing, we want it to feel good to our lip, and then learning how to pull a handle. Definitely one of those acquired skills that takes a little bit of practice. So let's go ahead, we'll throw the body, and then we'll show the process. I do like to trim, just clean up the foot a little bit. So we are going to turn it over and trim a more traditional foot, and then we're going to pull a handle. So the mugs that I like to make are just a little over a pound. I think I've got about 20 ounces of clay here. So just to be able to get that amount centered, I like to center it, and then I like to center it just a little bit wider for these kind of ones that I'm doing that have kind of a wide base. So the last video that we made was for bowls, and we left a nice healthy thickness for the base. The mug is the exact opposite. It's almost scary how thin the base is. We're going to open that up. We're going to pull that out. And when we check that, see, we can go even thinner than that. It's really is. It's only going to be about 1/8 of an inch thick. So we're going to pull up the walls. I like to kind of keep it coming in. It's always easy to go out. So let's just keep everything coming in slightly. And then, like I said, we're going to get down in there, and I'm just going to use my finger on the outside. And I'm going to get to where I've thinned that out pretty good, still leaving a nice bead for the rim. And I'm going to just use the metal rib. I'm just going to let that dig in and actually start defining the shape. I'm just going to let that dig in and get that nice curve to the base. And then I'm just going to clean up and get just that little bit of that taper leading up to the rim. So I'm going to smooth out the rim. What I'm going to do with my index finger on my left hand is I'm just going to put and give just a little bit of a bevel on the inside. That's where our upper lip is going to rest. So we just like to give it just a little bit of an edge, or a little bit of a taper, I should say. And we're going to go ahead and trim away a little bit of that excess. Get the water out. holding the wire tight, right against the bat, pulling through. Okay, so we're going to do something differently to trim for the mug. I need to trim the foot and I need to put a handle on. So you need to get that handle on while there's still plenty of moisture in the mug. So I want to be able to get that handle on when it's just barely leather hard. Well, if I were to do the method that we've been doing, taking little balls of clay and holding it in place, it would quite very likely distort or stick to the rim. So we're going to do something a little different. I've got just I just centered a little pyramid of clay. And I'm just going to take just a little piece of paper towel. Let's see, I need a little bigger than that. We're going to just cover this clay with paper towel. And now for my mug that's just barely leather hard, rather than holding it from the outside, I'm going to put it on and we're going to hold it from the inside. And that way we're not distorting the rim at all. So it's a little tricky when you're just setting it on there and seeing if you're lining it up. So this is the reason why that I just get in the habit of just resting my left hand because I don't want to just push it off and push it away. So as thin as we've thrown the base on this mug, it really shouldn't take too long at all. Basically what I'm going to do is just push just slightly, and that's going to give it just a concaved base. I'll do it a little bit more so that we can just see how that feels. And then I'm just going to clean up the edge. I'm just going to give a little bevel to the edge. So I don't trim a traditional foot in that sense, but the fact that I've given it a little bit of a concave direction, it is going to sit up here out on this outside ring. So we know that the base isn't very thick, and so really that's about all we need to do is just clean that up just a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and just with a wet sponge just clean up and get rid of any little burrs. Okay, now comes the fun part, learning how to pull a handle. If when you're making your mug, if it does seem like it's drying out a little too much, just go ahead and rehydrate it. You can go ahead and just dip the rim, because that's where we need to be able to get that top of that handle, and obviously the pieces are drying more at the top, so you need to make sure that you maintain a good amount of moisture so that handle isn't just going to pop off. Okay, so I'm just going to get a little pyramid of clay, and I'm going to get my hand wet, and we're just going to start between our thumb and our forefinger, and basically all we're doing is getting it to taper. but I don't want it to be round. And so what I like to do, I switch over between my index finger and my middle finger. And that's how I'm getting it to flatten. So I just go back and forth. So when you're first starting out, it seems difficult to be able to maintain an even pressure. What I like to encourage students is to be thinking about, as you're pulling, that you're actually following through, that your fingers are actually coming together, not while you're on the clay, but that right down here. So if I'm getting that taper, and then the other thing that we like to do, rather than have it be as thick as it is on the edges, we can just lay it down and we can just kind of massage, and we can get a little bit of taper on the edge as well. So you can pull a handle, and then you would just cut it, and I would score the top and put it on and just attach the handle just right after you pull it. You don't need to let this set up for very long. Okay, the other method, rather than cutting it and attaching it, the other method that I prefer and that we like to encourage is that you're actually going to just kind of get a blank. You're going to get just a little stubby handle started. So we're just going to get the shape that we want. We're thinning it out. And we're going to just cut off that uneven part. So once again, we're going to lay it down. We're going to get that taper. But this time, we're just going to take that and we're just going to actually cut that off straight. And then just cradle it between your thumb and your forefinger. And you're going to pat it. And that's going to get it to be a little bit concaved, and you're going to get just a little bit of an edge. And then we're going to take our mug, and I'm thinking for this one, the size, I think I'll actually just go right off of where I've made that line there. I think it's up high enough that I'd be able to do that. So I'm just going to score just a little bit on the top, make sure that that's going to connect really well. There's usually plenty of moisture down at the base, so I'm just going to put one little dot just so that it'll help me line it up. So now that we've got this blank started, we're just going to take that and press it on. And we just want to make sure that we spend a little bit of time making sure that that's really well connected. So once we have that on there, now we can just take and hold the cup, and we're going to continue to pull the handle right off of the mug. It gives it just a little bit of a different feel, a little different look that a lot of us just really prefer. So I'm just thinning it down, pulling it, and getting to the point where I know that I can come down and it's long enough that I can connect it. I can just cut the excess off. And then I like to just massage the base, just give it a little bit of a rounded curve. So you're just kind of double checking, making sure that it's connected well. Then something that we haven't done yet, maybe to add a little visual interest, a little place for the glaze to either pool or to break over. Going to add a little bit of texture. Just have a piece of plaster that I've cut some lines in. So I'm going to just add a couple of little designs. Another possibility, something we haven't done yet, is to decorate with some slip. Probably the easiest thing to do is to just collect slip from the clay that you're using. Obviously, if you've got a clay that's got grog or sand in it, you would probably want to run that through a sieve. But then you've got a slip that's compatible with the clay that you're using. You're using the exact same slip. But another thing to do would be to take a clay that doesn't have sand or grog. For example, what I've got is some bee mix, and I just take a bag of clay, cut it into chunks, put it in a 5-gallon bucket and add water to it. Come the next day and just mix it up. And so I've got a pretty thick application of a slip here. So once again, maybe just to add a little bit of design, I'm just going to put a few little squigglies on there. Okay, so now to finish up with the mug, I would cover that so that the moisture can equalize between the handle and the body. And then after about a day or two, then we could leave it out and let it dry naturally. So very, very utilitarian, very something that I think everybody would want to be able to have a mug that feels good, that they can use every day. Okay, thank you. We'll see you next time.